Hello, everyone. Welcome to my second debate. Today, my guests are Harlan Mar Johnson and Jake Crawford. In today's debate, we're discussing whether God exists or not. Short introduction from Harlan.
Hi, I'm Harlan. I go to Underschool and I just watched a YouTube video about whether God exists or not.
Thank you. Jake.
Hi, I'm Jake Crawford. I also go to Underschool, and I do philosophy as an A-level, so that's why I'm going to pound Harlan. I am the proposing argument saying that God is real.
Thank you very much. Could you both quickly summarise your argument in a short introduction, Jake?
Ladies, gentlemen, all of the in-between, and of course Maddie, I'm answering what was the very first reason for the beginning of the universe, and this was God, and this is the fact that God is real. And not the immediate reason, the Big Bang. I know that. God was the creator of the universe, as I am not as foolish short-sighted as the opposition. I am not denying that the Big Bang theory is a lie, as I do indeed believe that this is the reason for the creation of the universe to have come into existence. However, I am arguing that as St. Thomas Aquinas in his cosmological argument, Copleston in his interpreted version of the cosmological argument, including Leibniz's sufficient reason, and many others believed, God was the first reason allowing the Big Bang to happen. Ultimately, meaning that he is real. This although I'm calling God the creator of the universe, I'm not specifically pinning this argument to any religion, as I will later explain in the explanation of Copleston.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Harlan, would you like to start your introduction?
I want to, first of all, thank everyone for watching this video, for Maddie for being a wonderful hostess, and Jake for providing a good try at an introduction there. Okay, so I'm going to basically say what's going to happen in this argument. Jake's going to say that God exists, and I'm going to say that he doesn't. And if we look through the past, it was, let's say 200 years ago, it was very plausible to say this is such and such, and I would ground my argument in faith, and that would be my reason. But due to the Enlightenment, this has all changed because various philosophers and scientists have began to doubt, and this first came about. So, for example, if I got ill 400 years ago, there would be an evil spirit in my body, but now we know there are germs. We thought that the world was the center of the universe, but now we know that we revolve around the sun, and this reason has led to science, which had disproved most of God's queries. And what Jake will show is that God, if he does exist, his input is so minimal, and he has no grounds to be around, and there's no way that he interferes with us in any way. And if he does, there's no way that we should believe that, because the stakes are so high, we can't say with certainty. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Harlan. Strong point from you. Jake, is there anything you want to add to Harlan's introduction point?
I just want to say that, Harlan, that was, I'm very impressed the fact that you wing that. But once you've lost this debate, I'd like to see, I'm sure you've still got the nudie poster in your background.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Great. I'm going to start the debate with a few questions to challenge you both. Jake, I'd like to start with you. Many people say, how can there be a God when there is so much evil and suffering in the world? Do you agree with this statement?
Well, obviously I disagree, because clearly there is a God due to many reasons, which I'll explain later in my argument. However, the reason for such suffering is because this world is full of sin. However, God can't control us. He has to allow us free will. And through this, the flesh of the body is evil, as said by St. Paul, and the fact that it is our soul. We know what's morally right from, when we're very young all the way through when we grow up. And I realistically, I think that it just shows, the world can't be as perfect as heaven, as we need to reach heaven through respecting God's laws and following our own moral code that He imprints in us when we are made in our mother's womb.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Marr Johnson, would you like to add anything to Jake's?
Right, yeah. I'm going to start with this is my main argument.
Yeah, or anything to do with Jake's argument he just said.
Right, I'm going to start with a few rebuttals. Okay, you said that humans were created by God, but yet, due to, if you've read The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, you would know that evolution is not a design, but it is, in fact, random mutations, natural selection, and there's also the stoned ape theory in which...
Mr. Marr Johnson, may I interrupt you, Mr. Crawford?
Well, I mean, I don't know whether you've ever heard of the flagellum, because it is part of a piece of bacteria which has a swimming kind of motor on it. And the fact that you believe that evolution is real, I can't.
Mr. Marr Johnson, carry on.
Mr. Crawford, your naivety is not overlooked by me. So as I was saying, evolution, as is accepted by most people except Mr. Crawford here, is plausible for the existence of Homo sapiens. And he also mentioned by repenting your sins, you can go to heaven, which I think is both naive and absurd, due to the fact that there is nothing that a person of faith could say or do that someone without faith could do. Whereas, if you want to look at an example of wickedness from someone of faith, then you have to look no further than many wicked acts that we see, such as Abraham killing his own son for God, which is written about in the most sacred scripture of all in the Old Testament, the Bible. The majority of the suicide bomb community, they are mostly religious. Genital mutilation community, they are mostly religious. And the Bible even incites genocide in the Old Testament. So I'm not sure we should be living up to God's words or image. Yes, Ms. Crawford.
Okay, well, firstly, I'm sorry about my interruption earlier.
Very immature, Mr. Crawford.
Very immature. And I'd just like to withdraw that comment, firstly. And secondly, I'd just quite like to say that Abraham never actually killed Isaac because the voice of God did actually mention a voice of an angel, went down and stopped him before he actually killed Isaac. And also, I'd quite like some references for all of your facts. Can you
look at the news, Jake, and you'll see Christian extremists, Islamist extremists. I'll give an example. The Spanish Catholic Church went to South America and they tried to christen and baptize all the local people because they had not yet discovered God, and they tried to preach to them. But with doing so, they gave them disease and death, and they killed many, and they're almost extinct now.
Well, Holland, as I said, the flesh is evil, and a lot of people can get confused, and it's similar to organizations similar to ISIS. I mean, obviously it's not, I don't know, I don't really know the facts to your information, but a lot of these kind of atrocities committed the people aren't really religious. The Bible doesn't tell you to do this. The thing is, people are using religion, and people have been using them for hundreds of years to hide behind a religious preaching, interpret it in their own ways in which it was not meant for. And this is just shows that it's not the main part of religion which actually creates this problem. And also, I'd quite like to just quickly say that once we get onto the debate, I won't be, so inclined to be so protective of, Christianity. And I don't specify, as I said in my introduction, to Christianity. However, all of your quotes, they just. I'm saying what I'm saying is that
I mentioned Islamist extremists, for example, 9/11.
Again, that's people hiding behind religion. That's people hiding behind a religion.
They did it in the name of God, Jake Crawford.
That's what they said.
We're going off topic.
Jake, this is my argument. You can't just. This is the longest point of information I've ever heard. Let me speak. Be quiet. I'll come to you.
It's not your argument yet.
It is. Maddie, it's my argument.
No, he's rebuttaling my question that he asked.
Shut your mouth, Mr. Marr Johnson, please answer.
No, I said I'd like to start with a few rebuttals, and then I was about to go into my argument.
Okay, Mr. Marr Johnson, Mr. Crawford, please calm down. This is a civil debate. Mr. Marr Johnson, carry on.
Another point I'd like to add is that the Crusades were done in the name of God, which, as I'm sure you'll know from your history lessons, that they were terrible and many Christians and Muslims died. But also, if there is a divine deity sitting above us all and governing us, why, if humans have existed for 100,000 years, did he only come down to Earth and show his presence recently? When, if you look to statistics, in Indonesia, many, many millions of years ago, 99.9% of all species were extinct in a mass extinction event. And that doesn't sound like a very merciful God. And also, if we're the center of the universe, this sounds arrogant and completely absurd, and arrogant at best, because we're not at the center of it all. And carrying on, if God was so merciful, then why did he let Hitler kill so many Jews in the Second World War? Why did he let Stalin kill so many Russians? Why? Why is there a final cleanse of the Uyghurs going on right now? This doesn't seem like a very merciful God to
Rebuttal,
me.
please.
Marr Johnson, may I interrupt? I saw that paragraph on Google earlier. May I carry on asking my questions?
I literally have all my notes written down here.
Sorry, Mr. Marr Johnson.
Mr.
Marr Johnson, I'd just quite like to, explain the situation. I'm not being passive aggressive or anything, but when you started speaking, that was rebuttaling my answer to Maddie's question.
I did. I said I'd like to start with a few rebuttals.
But you don't continue onto your argument because Maddie's not finished with her questions.
I said, is this my argument? And Maddie said yes.
I think Maddie was a bit confused. No, it's fine.
No, don't shift the blame to speaker. Harlan was answering to your rebuttal and you interrupted him.
Me?
Yes.
I did not shift blame to you.
Maddie, it's completely your fault. Just be quiet.
I was going to say, can I please shift my challenging question to Harlan now?
All right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Please repeat.
Okay, my question to you, Mr. Marr Johnson, is: would you agree with me that just because we cannot see something with our eyes, such as our mind, gravity, magnesium, the wind, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist?
Is he frozen?
Let me just pause this. Hang on, I'm not stopping. Yeah, hi guys. Sorry, Mr. Mar Johnson's Wi-Fi cut out. I'd like to rephrase my question to you, Mr. Mar Johnson. Would you agree with me that just because we cannot see something with our eyes, such as our mind, gravity, and the wind, that does not mean it doesn't exist?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one because gravity and the wind can be explained by physics as we know now, and I want to say how many physicists have won the Nobel Prize for Physics who believe that there is a God, and the answer is none. Now I can't come to supper. Sorry. So yeah, there's no way that there's just a God out there. I'm sorry.
But you still haven't answered my question.
I just answered your question.
Hardly.
Well, I did. I said I gave you reasons.
Okay, sorry, I'm showing favoritism. Okay, Mr. Crawford, go
on. Well, as a rebuttal to that, there is actually a lot of evidence for God. It's just difficult to prove because it's difficult to prove something with such with empirical data, such as facts from physics.
I'm not coming. I'm speaking with friends.
Sorry. Professional. I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford. Carry on.
Well, I'm just saying that it's quite hard to prove God, who is metaphysical. To prove, I mean, we have evidence to suggest that there is a God. However, it's quite kind of primitive to assume that you can prove a metaphysical being with someone or something such as like so empirical as physics. And I know we believe that we are at a modern age where we just know everything, but in reality, in a few years or many years, when we've really extended to a limit of science, we might actually be able to decide whether we know whether there's a God or not. And there's a lot of empirical evidence, as even if you want me to say that, there's a lot of empirical evidence to suggest that there is a God. However,
Mr. Crawford, I've seen no convincing evidence thus far.
Okay, would you like me to, read you some? Okay, so I've got some right here, amongst my essay, and my empirical evidence for him is that there must be a creator. This is from St. Thomas Aquinas' cosmological argument, and I'd like to reiterate Saint. So he argued that God was the creator of the universe, and he basically everything is contingent. And do you know what that means?
I do.
Don't be patronising.
Okay. Well, everything is contingent. There is nothing within the known universe in which has shown to contain within itself the explanation or the reason for its being. And the fact is that there must have been a creator, as there must be at least one necessary being which has created all of this, where he is self-contingent, where he's the first reason for everything. So otherwise it would just be contingents going on infinitely into the past, which is clearly impossible.
Hello, sorry, there's a bit of difficulty going on. I like to ask Jake to propose one of his arguments. Mr. Crawford, over to you.
Okay. God is clearly real, as he created the universe, as shown by St. Thomas Aquinas' cosmological argument. In this argument, he has three ways. In his first empirical way, empirical meaning physical evidence around us, based off peripatetic ideas, he argues that everything moves and changes. And as we know, everything that moves is moved by something or someone other than itself. In other words, God everything is contingent. It relies on something else for its existence. For example, to explain you, we would have to look some elsewhere. Nothing on forever, and the resultant being, there must be a necessary being.
Point of information.
So a necessary being. What do you want?
Aren't you just quoting the conservation of momentum law, that energy is preserved?
No, I'm not actually. I'm just. It's what Thomas Aquinas actually argued in his 3 ways, and this is his first way.
That's a quote. That's not an argument.
That is not a quote. I'm making a point. I know. I've made a point. I'm giving it evidence, and I will explain in a second.
Mr. Crawford, carry on.
Is there something wrong, Harlan?
No.
He's just trying to throw you off, Mr. Crawford, carry on.
Well, exactly. Sorry, I've just got to find myself now because someone rudely interrupted me for no reason. So a necessary being, as I was saying, a necessary being is something that relies on nothing but itself. So it's self-contingent. So it is just, it's self-explanatory. So that is self-caused or not contingent. There is no case known that a thing is found to be an efficient cause of itself. This would suggest that this necessary factor at the start of this contingency would be God. Aquinas' second way, he uses inductive logic, which, if you didn't know, results in a probable conclusion using empirical facts and applying it to whatever you are trying to prove. To show how potentiality changes into actuality. The second way says that everything has a cause in the empirical world. There must have been a first cause to starting this ongoing chain reaction of causes, as there cannot be an infinite number of causes, as we discussed. Without a first cause, there cannot be subsequent causes. This first cause is God or a prime mover, as God is necessary, is a necessary self-causing being. The third way is based on the idea that things either exist or they do not. No part of creation is eternal. Therefore, everything has experienced not being. This suggests that everything is contingent, and one time there was nothing. The third way suggests that the prime mover or God came about for its own cause, showing that it must be a necessity. This shows that God must be real and as he must have created the universe, as there's no other explanation other than the Big Bang. And how would the Big Bang have happened, considering the odds?
Thank you, Mr.
God is clearly... Sorry?
Are you still carrying on?
God is clearly real, as he is the creator of the universe, as shown by Copleston's interpreted version of Aquinas' cosmological argument. In Copleston's cosmological argument, he includes Leibniz's sufficient reason, where he says that it may not have been a cause that created the universe. However, another reason that we have not yet discovered, as it is impossible for something to cause itself other than the necessary cause, the prime mover. Copleston said that there is nothing in the known universe that contains within themselves the reason of their own existence. That contains within themselves the reason of their own existence. The universe is full of contingent beings. This means that to find a necessary being, we must look outside of the universe. This reason for the beginning of the universe must be a necessary self-explanatory being, which is what we call God. This is not connected to religion, so to believe this, you do not have to be religious. However, that there must be a necessary being to create the universe shows that there is the prime mover, which show that God must be real, and that we have been searching, that God must be real, and that is what we have been searching for to explain everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Some good points made there. Harlan, would you like to objectify anything Mr. Crawford said?
Objectify.
Don't make a fool out of me. Would you like to robust or whatever the word is? Anything Mr. Crawford has said?
Yeah, I'll start my argument with a few rebuttals. So, Mr. Crawford, what you're implying was a philosopher's God, which does not have impact with us as humans. I think this is extremely naive, as the Earth is a small piece of rock in an even smaller galaxy in the universe, so it's very naive, as I've already mentioned, to assume that we are the center of all of this. And your first cause argument is flawed.
Sorry, just to reply to your first rebuttal.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I've already expressed a good argument is one that can be disproven. Your first cause argument will just end up being your word against mine, as you cannot prove that something occurred out of nothing. Because that just doesn't not make sense. And who created God then? If you said there was a necessity that he happened, where was he, God, when the Egyptians were taken as slaves? The Turkish genocide, the Armenian genocide by the Turks in 1918, the Russian Revolution. There are countless examples I can give. The institutionalized rape and torture in the Catholic Church under God's own roof, so to speak. Where was God? He does not exist. Thank you very much.
Can I reply to those rebuttals?
No.
Yes, Mr. Crawford, that was quite heavy, Mr. Moore Johnson.
Thank you. So thirdly, I've already said that God has given us free will, so that is why those atrocities happen, because the flesh is what holds the sin, whilst our soul is what we will leave when we die. We will leave the flesh behind. Your second last argument was, sorry, can you repeat that rebuttal?
Me?
The second one? Yeah, the second one. Is that right?
No. I'm going to counteract you, but your thing about free will, you got to watch your footage afterwards, Jake. You'll learn when you slipped up. You got to write things down as well, rather than just reading off your essay that you wrote for school.
I'm not reading off my essay, actually. I'm literally speaking out.
In your eyes, you're looking into the computer.
That's because of the bloody glasses. I'll enlarge this bloody thing if you want. I'm not reading off my essay.
Something about
No
free
profound
will.
language.
Your free will argument was flawed at best, because what you're inciting is that God made us and then told us what to do, which does not seem like free will. It's an authoritarian person who knows what you're doing. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what you're doing, and in his scriptures he tells you what to eat, what to say, what to believe. I don't like being told what to do, and this is really quite terrible. And also, if one God can exist through your first cause arguments, then why can't another? Why? So surely it's a pluralist deity, and if one's wrong, then the others, it will accept Buddhism. They're all wrong. So how can you explain that? There must be some
How
sort
there
of
could be
God.
more than one God?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sorry, you keep glitching. I can hardly.
How can you explain that there can be more than one God?
I can explain that. What do you mean? How can I explain? I didn't say there was more than one God. I didn't say there was only one God.
If you can accept there being one God, then you've got to be able to open to the suggestion that there could be another one, which
Okay. Well, what religions are you referring to?
Buddhism, any mainstream religions. So
Buddhism doesn't have a God.
Hinduism's.
Hinduism, the main god. I'm pretty sure in Hinduism, all of the gods are one god, just split into different.
Aztec gods, Egyptian gods, Roman gods.
Well, what? Roman gods? Well, I'm not sure that many people actually believe in the Roman gods anymore. But if you insist, Harlan, then I'm sure that there could be more than one god. If you
argument
really
is false, because there's not. It's too specified for just the people who believe you're certain error.
I didn't. I just specified all of the things. You just specified ancient religions.
Yeah.
So that is completely irrelevant to the argument.
Well, no, they're still gods, Jake.
They still do have gods, Mr. Crawford.
Ooh, ancient religions that have been dead for thousands of years.
All the modern religions now will eventually be.
You're really telling me.
Older, you're both getting off topic, Mr. Crawford.
Sorry.
You answer Mr. Marr Johnson's question.
I believe that there could be more than one god, and also Hinduism there's one god that is represented by separate names, and all ancient religions are relevant because that is not anything to do with this argument.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crawford.
So stop arguing for the sake of argument, just trying to save your own skin.
Maddie, should we have a couple of questions?
Yes, yeah, thanks, Mr. Marr Johnson. That's appropriate. This is directed to both of you, but mainly Mr. Marr Johnson. Hopefully you've heard of the chicken and the egg paradox. Yes or no?
I have heard of it.
Yes, I've heard of it.
You could have said yes. Anyway, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The dilemma stems from the observation that all chickens hatch from eggs and all chicken eggs are laid by chickens.
We know that the egg came before the chicken, and I was not expecting this question to come up. And if I did, I'd give you proof and an explanation. But I know that it's fact because I read it in a book. And if you look it up, I'm sure you can find the explanation online. But it's well documented now.
We'll try and link it.
Sorry, Maddie, can I ask what the relevance to the question is?
I was going to say, I'm saying what I mean is surely intelligently designed things call for an intelligent designer of them. I'm referring to God, Mr. Marr Johnson.
Oh, well, yes. Well, of course.
I'm Marr Johnson, Mr. Crawford.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I've already talked about this slightly, but this is called the watch theory, which assumes that we are mechanisms made by the watchmaker, which is, of course, God.
Are you referring to William Paley's watch analogy that's referring to the universe?
Please do not interrupt me. I literally said it was the watch theory, and then I'm explaining it.
Yes, but I'm asking you.
I don't need to mention who it's well known, it's well documented. I don't
No, I'm not saying you should have said this. I'm asking
Johnson. Mr.
Yes,
Johnson,
yes, please be quiet. If you've got a point of information, then you've got to say point of information. You can't just speak while I'm talking. That's not how debate works. If this was a proper debate, Jake, you'd be out. You'd be out. You'd be on the street.
No, I wouldn't, because it wouldn't be questions, would it? It would be one clear argument that we've already written pre
not
debate.
That
if this was a proper debate, I would be able to beat you because I have so much more information.
You're going off topic, Mr. Marr Johnson, as you're saying about the Watchmen.
Mr. Crawford is getting distracted by personal attacks rather than focusing on the argument because he knows that he's lost.
I'm not personally attacking you.
Stop provoking him, Mr. Marr Johnson.
I have point of information. Maddie, expel him. Do you have the authority to kick him off?
I can mute him, but I'm not going to. Jake Crawford, you have one last chance. Mr. Marr Johnson, carry on.
As I was saying, we are not machines. We are not mechanisms made by a watchmaker because it's clear that we're not designed due to the evolution that I've already specified. And if you want to say, oh, well, in retrospectively, this is all God's plan that we would evolve this way, then this is a terrible argument because it's, as I've already explained, this is unfalsifiable because this goes right the way back to the first cause argument, which cannot be disproved because it ends up just being your word against mine.
Point of information.
Yes, Mr. Crawford.
Let me finish, and then you can have your point of information. There gets a point where they go, oh, there must be a God that created the thing. And then I say, No, there's not. There's no evidence. It was such a long time ago. Yeah, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Johnson. Mr. Crawford.
I just want to say, I don't know why you're impersonating someone in such a immature way. And secondly, you are being a bit of a hypocrite by basically specifying it to Christianity.
In what way am I specifying to Christianity?
Because you are suggesting Imago Dei, which is the idea that we were created in the God's image, and that is specified to Christianity.
I'll refer to that later in my argument. I'll go and I'll speak about it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I've already mentioned the mass extinction and the horrible ways that God is not intervening with human life and letting humans just do morally obscene things. I've mentioned the genital mutilation of Jewish traditions. What do you think if I invented a new religion that wrote that girls had to cut off their clitoris when they were born? What do you think of me? How obscene would that be? But no, it is rooted in our history.
I'm sure that is a religion. My apologies, I thought I was on mute.
It's not a religion. It's actually quite obscene. Yeah, that's it.
Is that your point? Thank you, Mr. Mark Johnson.
Harlan, I'm loving the fact you keep referring to the exact same notes repetitively.
Coming from the man who's literally reading off his essay, saying exactly.
I'm not. I can show you. I'm literally like recalling this.
Gents, I would now like you both to wrap up your debate and argument with a short, I will be timing you 3 minutes.
I finished.
Or conclusion. Pardon, Mr. Mark Johnson?
I finished.
You finished. Do you not have a summary?
He's repeated all his notes too much. He knows that he can't keep repeating them.
I yield my time.
Mr. Mark Johnson, maybe while Mr. Crawford is doing his summary, you can maybe think of a summary in your head. Is that okay, or have you finished? Okay, Mr. Crawford, would you like to do your summary?
Okay. To summarise.
Yeah, it's got really tense.
Hang on. I'm not going to look at my essay just to make Harlan happy.
3 minutes, Mr. Crawford, starting from now.
To summarise, God is real, as shown by the fact by the large amounts of evidence. Can you not show the clock, please? shown by the large amount of evidence that I've explained to you through the cosmological argument by St. Thomas Aquinas, the interpretive cosmological argument by Copleston, with an interpretation of with an inclusion of Leibniz's sufficient reason, and the fact that without a God, how could we be here today with such intricacies within the world, as explained by William Paley in his design argument, that such intricacies, the fact that where our world is, the fact that it's so perfect for life with the perfect amount of oxygen, the interdependence between plants and animals, where the fact that plants create oxygen and we create carbon dioxide, and we both need what the other creates. The fact that where we are in the universe, compared to the sun, if we were too far away, we'd be too cold. Too close, we'd be burning up and nothing could grow. The fact that we're in such a perfect position, the fact that everything is so beautiful and perfect, even down to the tiniest particle, the intricacies within the smallest particle in the world, just shows how there must be a God and he must be real. Because how without it? I know Harlan will keep referring to the amount of pain in the world. However, this is just because he needs to give us free will so that he knows what we what our abilities are, as he can see what we're doing, how we're ruining the world. However, it is so important for us to have free will. Otherwise, we would just be trapped here without any choice or any freedom. Clearly, if he had, stepped in and prevented us from doing this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Speaker. And I hope my opposition does well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crawford. Good.
I have a few things I'd like to say, Maddie.
Excuse me?
Can I say a few things? I don't want to properly summarise. I just want to answer a few final questions.
Yes, of course.
Right. So, Jake, you talked about the perfection of life. Yet there are thousands, if not millions, of people who starve from lack of basic needs like food and water every year. People die from brain tumours randomly, and the world is not the centre of the universe, as you were suggesting in your summary, saying that we're the perfect distance from the sun. As I'm sure you know, the Earth does revolve around the sun, and the Milky Way is not near the centre of the universe in the slightest. And also, how can God, if we're so perfect, incite us to do such immoral things? For example, in Rwanda, it was said, one of the most religious countries in the world, Catholic. I'll give you an example of the wickedness that religion brings and proof that there's no God. They said, yes, abortion is bad, but not quite as bad as condoms, or not as immoral in the same way. And this religion will not save us all, because it teaches us to mistreat women and as subordinates, and it's a patriarchy with God being male in most religions. And I'm not sure this is an ideal that we can live up to, especially not as you put it, it's definitely not perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marr Johnson. Mr. Crawford.
Can I
Mr.
just
Crawford, we're
answer
running
those
out of
questions?
time.
Can I be quick? I've just got some short things.
How short?
Literally, I've just got to answer what his rebuttals in a couple sentences each.
Mr. Crawford, I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay, so free will. Starving. So you were speaking about the starving people, hundreds of millions or something of people dying from starvation, and this is due to the fact that the country is, less well off. However, again, free will. I'm sure people like countries like Great Britain, the USA, and we haven't done very well by them by helping them out at all. That's just the free will of every single human in the world, and that is hard luck. And obviously, God can't step in. We're clearly not the center of the universe. All I said is that we were in near the sun, in the perfect position near the sun, near our sun. I didn't say that it revolved around us. I didn't say Milky Way was in the center of the universe. No, because I've only got a minute left. We're clearly not the center. I didn't say that we were in the perfect position. I said it was just right. That's why it's called a golden zone.
Crawford, I'm gonna have to stop you there. Your minute is up. I'm so sorry, Mr. Marr Johnson. If you want to say anything else, this is your last point of the debate, and you only have a minute, the same as Mr. Crawford. Start now.
I don't want to say anything.
You wanted a point of us.
I was just hindering him.
Mr. Marr Johnson, you were very cruel.
Speaker, please may I request 30 more seconds, just because I know he was trying to...
Mr. Crawford, this is going to take up a lot of my storage, but okay.
Please, I just say thank you, everyone, for your time. It's been a really fun debate. Mr. Crawford has told me, he's just given me a message that he does not want to do a final.
That's not what I said. Speaker, please, can you mute him?
Thank you, Maddie.
No, Mr. Marr Johnson, quieten down. Mr. Crawford, I'll give you 20 seconds, no more.
Can I go and have my supper?